Welcome to today's vlog and podcast. Well, July has been a month of all kinds of adventures, but not a lot of things to show for it. I did finish this quilt behind me. That is the Emeralds quilt that I made in last year, right about the time of the 100-day project. I was thinking of a way to celebrate my 50th birthday instead of getting all bummed out about it. And my plan was to put it on the frame this year on my 51st birthday. However, I didn't realize my birthday was right around Memorial Day weekend and we're always busy. So it wound up being in June, and I did a boomerang ruler work, and in the corners I made it a little star pattern. So I wanted it to look like cut emeralds because emerald is the birthstone of May. What other things have I been doing? Well, I wrapped up the machine quilting blog hop, and we are also pretty excited about the fact that Krista has a new book out. Yes, the Machine Quilting Blog Hop, if you remember, was a book that Krista Watson and Angela Walters had published, and we went through it chapter by chapter doing the free motion quilting stitches. Me, Holly Ann, Kristen, and Quilt and Jenny. And all of those are on their own archive tab on my blog. Now, I was so sad when it ended. I felt kind of lost. I didn't know what to do. Well, Krista has a new book. It's called Piece and Quilt with Pre-Cuts. The good news is we're going to do another blog hop. And each of us are going to make a whole quilt this time. And I'm going to highlight some of the different quilting stitches in the book and really work on free motion, and then show some piecing that the book has. And if I really do exactly what I want to do, I want to test several of the blocks out just to see how they look for future ideas. So now some exciting news for me is that I have a quilt that Moda Bake Shop really liked. So in the next couple weeks or months, I'm not sure, I think it's about the middle of August, the quilt will be done, and I'll be putting my post on the bake shop. The recipe or pattern will be posted, and it's really not a difficult quilt, but there's a lot of kind of fiddly, fussy things tips you got to know, or they won't go together. And it's really something I'm quite proud of. So why don't you guys check it out? And it will be on Moda Bake Shop. I will put a notice on my blog and other social media when it publishes. I haven't got a date on the calendar for a firm guest blog for the recipe. So modabakeshop.com. If you've never been there, you should go. There's lots of really good recipes or patterns. They feature the pre-cuts that they have, but I didn't know that fat quarter bundles are now considered a pre-cut. So there's a lot more ideas. And if you have a good idea for a pre-cut, submit it to Moda. They might feature you too. It's really quite fun. So that was my big exciting news, and I'm going to kind of go into what I've been doing over the last month. Like I said, not a whole lot to show for it. I have been knitting, and I will show a picture of the mistake rib scarf that I made, and it is one of those scarves that's so simple to make. Vicki Howell put it out as a free pattern, and you changed lots and lots of colors. Well, I found a Bernat Pop yarn, and it looks like a sushi roll, and it makes color blocking throughout the scarf. And I did one skein, and I'm finding that I just need something to do in the evening while watching TV because it's too hot to bury threads on this quilt. If you look close, you'll probably see some loose threads. And it's been warm, but it's not been unreasonably warm for us here in Michigan. It's been, in the 70s and 80s, which is great. I have cooler nights. I cannot complain. because this month I did go spend some time with my grandchildren while my daughter and her husband went out of town for a couple days, and I visited with everybody before they left. It was 110 with the heat index in the south. And I realized I am built for cold weather. Now, I will complain in February and March about cold weather and blizzards, but they're easier to deal with than the oppressive humidity and heat. So I am recuperating from the heat of last week and getting back on track this week for all of my work activities, which, takes you a couple days to kind of get back into the saddle. I'm crocheted some crowns, and the girls loved them. And if you want to see the previous posts on that, I'll put a link to it on the show notes too. So you can see the princess, Every Princess Needs Her Crown is the name of the free pattern. And I am not a advanced crochet person, but I've done it enough that I can read patterns and do some, different stitches. It really worked up quickly, and I sewed little buttons that had sparkle on it because the girls are older and it was safe, and I made one for the baby for a photo. So anyway, I did 3 little crowns real quickly, and you can see those in light pink, dark pink, and purple. I'm trying to figure out a way to make a nice pattern bigger for women because I think I need a crown too, and a couple of my friends want a crown, so I'm going to try. I also cast on, I had one more skein of this yarn, and I cast on the needles, and I'm going to do exactly the same kind of thing. This is very simple. It's knit, and what you do is when the yarn is spun into yarn, you knit there. And then when you get to the spot where the yarn is roving, because it goes thick to thin, then you purl here. You cast it on a circular needle, about 80 stitches, and it's the easiest little fidget that I like to knit in the evening. I've also got my tatting out, and I'm working on an edging for a dishcloth, and all of those photos are available online. So I've been working on those kind of projects, little fidget projects for when I'm in front of the TV in the evening, because I think I've kind of turned into my grandparents. When I get home from work, and if I don't go to the gym, which is, a couple nights a week I do go, if I'm just sitting there watching YouTube or the television or cable, because I have a couple shows I like, I fall asleep pretty easy. So I got to be doing something. Do you do that too? And this week I think is just getting back to reality. It's kind of been a week of, a lot of mistakes, kind of stupid things, and I lost, I lost my pen and it was behind my ear. I was talking on my cell phone, looking for the cell phone. Sleep has been a little off, even though I didn't make any time changes. I got laryngitis, that kind of stuff. But it doesn't matter. A good time off spent away from work and with family and in a different place is always lots of fun and lots of exciting things to plan for. So I wanted to, look into August and September with eyes of, working on the blog hop and working on, the quilt for that's going to be made. I'm working on the Moda Bake Shop quilt, but after that, I don't have any plans for quilts, so I may kind of leave piecing more till after the holidays, and I might be inspired by Krista's book or come up with a couple of other ideas. But the one thing that I'm just really got to do is I've got a stack of 9 quilts of my own that I need to long arm, and I find that what I've been doing is quilting really densely on a lot of customer quilts and doing that kind of work for so much that some of these quilts are destined for charities, and I need to loosen up a little bit and do some less complicated quilting because they're not designed for shows. They're not designed for impressing people. They're designed for use, and they need to be quilted with straight line quilting or maybe some wiggly lines, or try some newer, less dense patterns. And I need to finish them up. I have 9 of them, and I think if I work pretty hard in between the quilts that I have for customers, I should be able to get them done over winter. And I'm not piecing. Now, mark my words. I'm not piecing another quilt top for fun, if there's not a purpose for it, until I get these done. I have Pat Sloan's block of the month children's library that I'm still working on. We got 3 more blocks on that. I'll get that together. Then I'll make it 10. And then I have 2 more with the Moda Bake Shop and the quilt for the fall blog hop. That'll be 12 quilts. That's got to be quilted. Quit making quilt tops. Quit making them, Vicki. I might just go back to testing a few blocks here and there and throwing them into my orphan block drawer for the day when I need a big quilt for a gift, which I'm working on one that has to be done in September for the wedding I'm attending. So don't tell him he's getting a quilt for the wedding. I think he already knows, but I don't think he watches my vlog or listens to my podcast. So it's a friend of the family. So anyway, that's the quilting plan. Now, on a personal level, we don't have any more vacations planned, but we have Highland Games. We have one about every weekend in August, one in September, one in October. So the one weekend there isn't a Highland Game in August, which I absolutely love going to the Highland Games, and I missed 2 of them in July, and I feel a little out of sorts about that because I don't know who's who and who's in first and who's in second and the big competitions. I heard about it and saw pictures, and it's not the same. It's not the same. I'm a sports person. And but Grand Rapids has their AQS Quilt Week. Is the middle of August, and I have a quilt that I worked on as a collaborative that's on my blog, and I long-armed the entire thing. I'm very excited. So my mom and I are going to go, and I'm going to get a picture with me in front of it, and I don't know, it's just something exciting about having your work hang in a show with other people's work that you look up to. I mean, Krista Watson had the butterflies quilt in the show last year. The best in show quilts are phenomenal. And so whenever I start thinking, I'm just not very good at doing any of this quilting business, then I remember, you know what? I had a couple of special quilts juried into shows, and I worked on them. You know what? I should be okay with that and just keep practicing, because practice does make progress, and practice makes me better. I need to practice long arming almost every day, or I feel like I get in a quilter's rut. So that's an exciting thing. And I'm not going to try to get a quilt in any show this next year. I'm going to take a year off and just dream and design and make some funkadelic quilts. And if one comes out and it's pretty special, I might try to put it in a show, next summer, spring, summer, trying to get in for the next year. So, that's my goals. And I have to say, I want to use up the stuff I have. I don't have lots of stashed fabric, but I have plenty, and I have plenty of things to do with what I have for sewing. I want to use up what I have, and I have a yarn stash that has probably 8 kits plus several big skeins of different things. And I'm just going to make cowls and fidgets and pillows and knot garments because I can't make them fit, and not in pairs because I can't make them the same size. And maybe crochet blocks, because that's a nice thing to do in the evening to help me stay awake and moving and keep my brain functioning. Brain function. Yeah, this has not been a good week for that either. How you do like stupid things? Like I'm cutting and the rotary cutter slips a little bit and you're like, I just cut into my bonus triangles just a tiny bit. I think I can salvage them. Or your math is totally wrong and you're now a quarter yard short for something and you might have to go buy more. Yeah, I did that too. Yeah, just a kind of a week of, re-entering into the real world is not been easy. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is staying creative. You know, I like to kind of promote how do you stay creative because, you know, I don't really run into quilter's block very often, but what I run into is I get tired of doing the same thing over and over. So that's why I like to try to make a quilt block that I've never seen before, design it myself, work on the math. But sometimes I really do need to do things like try another craft in some of the hours I would be spending a day quilting or piecing. I have plenty of long arming to do, so that's not the problem. It's sewing. So I did like a bunting, and I serged the edges on that. I serged some just little projects here and there, and some of them may or may not be Christmas presents that may work out. You know, so sometimes you have to try something different. That's where the knitting comes in, because it's too hot to do a lot of things on my lap with a quilt at night, like binding or thread burying. But you got to try something else. The other thing I really like to do is Zentangle. I've dug that out, found my micron pens, and done some doodling, and I'm realizing I'm pretty rusty at that too. But just keep it on going. They only have to be 10 or 15 minutes. You don't have to spend hours and hours a day. And then I want to knock the rust off and do some other things, like maybe get my violin out and do things like that, because that does get the creative spark going again for me. So sometimes, you know, instead of just piecing and piecing and piecing and piecing and piecing and then not getting all my long arming in, which I have to pace myself because I can get sore neck and shoulders if I do too much, because I tend to tighten up. And you know, just really pace myself and do other things. The other part is my fingers. They have a lot of arthritis in them, so I have to really pace myself on activities that make them ache. And in the summer, I can do more of knitting and that kind of stuff, where in the winter, the cold makes it more difficult. So that's something else. We have to adapt to what our bodies and what our time schedule and what our season of life will allow us to do. But I have a Zentangle doodle pad in my purse, and I have one, you know, where I can take my knitting. Like if I'm at the gym and I'm waiting for my husband to finish, then I can knit for a while. And there's a lot of different strategies that I employ to get some things done and not have a lot of wasted time. And I really do live by the fact that I break things down into 10 or 15 to 20 to 30 minute increments. So what I need to work on more as August rolls around is I need to work on exercising every day instead of focusing on that being at the gym only. So that's my goal for this year is, you know, into the fall and winter is way more exercise here at the house, some more at the gym, and making it every day. And that is where I think, you know, we also can get a lot of creative ideas as well. We're exercising. I know I do. I sit there and I'm like, oh, I wish I had a pen. And so what I'm finding is I can put things in my cell phone on the memos, like little sayings or little ideas or sparks or whatever that happen. I can jot them down in there because I always have my phone with me listening to the music. So that's July. August is going to be a month of a lot of exciting things. If everything goes well, I hope to have a guest that I'm going to be interviewing. That was part of my week too, is I missed our appointment because I was sick and work got out of control that day and whatever. So we rescheduled, and hopefully that'll work out and I can post that also in August. And watch for the blog hop. And Krista's book is now available, Piece and Quilt with Pre-Cuts by Krista Watson. And Moda Bake Shop, check that out. And I think that if you have not gone to a big quilt show, I mean, one that's juried like AQS or MQX, those are two where I've had quilts in there, try to go once. I think there's like 300 quilts in this show, because it's overwhelming, yes, and I have some specific things I want to buy. A long arm ruler, and I need to buy some cherry wood fabric. Love it. Have not tried it yet, but I've seen their challenges, and their fabric is amazing. You should go. It's going to be a pain to get to. It's 3.5 hours from here, and I don't do city driving very well. But I'm going to pick my mom up, and we're going to go. And we're going to have a great time. and I'll tell you all about it next time. Quilt on, everybody.